IVM.
Hi, I'm Satyajit.
Hi, I'm Racheta.
Welcome to Paperback by the Open Library Project.
We have as our guest today Shifa Mehta. Shifa is the host of Smile India podcast on the IVM Podcast Network.
In this episode, we discuss Chicken Soup for the Indian Soul, lesser-known Indian authors, and Indian biographies. Happy listening.
The Little Girl's Town. It was on a whim that I was driving to the airport, both amused and a little intrigued. I'd picked the place off the top of my head, and here I was setting out on my own adventure. My first solo holiday. Sure, people do that all the time, but for me, it was the first. A coming of age in many ways. I could do this and I would do anything. Taking a break from work was tough enough, and when I got time off, planning a break suddenly became stressful. I knew I needed time to be with myself and take stock of where I was headed. Part of me was tempted to stay home and do just that. But better sense prevailed when I had a sneak peek of the pending chores that I would have to look into. Goa seemed like the most obvious choice. It was literally in the backyard and I knew the place like the back of my hand. I had 48 hours to decide where I would go, and Goa seemed simple and uncomplicated. Then other options came to mind. Some places on my to-do list and some that came heavily recommended. Yet there was a voice telling me that I needed to do this by myself and go someplace that just sounded exotic and felt like it was calling me. A friend recommended a new company in Karnataka called The Bucket List, which tailor-made holidays, and that had me hooked. Seemed like they'd already had what I was looking for. So when I was sent pictures of a gorgeous resort in a coffee plantation with a great spa, I instantly said yes. I didn't realize it was 6 hours away from Bangalore, and when I began the drive, I was wondering what I'd got into. That's when I realized that sometimes going with the flow and trusting the universe is the only choice you have. Solo time is what I yearned for, and here it was. So I ventured ahead into this not-so-familiar territory. Of course, calls and messages from family and friends didn't help. Some thought I was mad and asked me to come back. Others said the peace and quiet would drive me insane. That egged me on. Surely I couldn't be such a slave to the bad life. Mr. Srinivas, my guide and driver, set the tone for the next 4 days. Tough but interesting, if I made the effort. He looked like a bank manager and spoke like a doctor. We honestly didn't know what to make of each other. He told me that Chikmagalur, my destination, actually meant the little girl's town in Kannada. It was gifted by a rich merchant to his little daughter as part of her dowry. Seemed ironical that I'd chosen a town thus named when I needed to feel that I was no longer a little girl who needed to be chaperoned even on a break. Google threw in more surprises. This was the place from where coffee, my constant companion, had first entered India. It was also Indira Gandhi's constituency before Amethi. With my camera, the landscape suddenly began coming to life. There was a festival of sorts, and women in all their finery lined the streets, at times blocking the traffic. Mr. Srinivas pretended to be angry, which was quite endearing. On the way, we stopped for South Indian filter coffee and steaming hot idlis. I was enjoying myself. I got into the groove listening to cheesy Tamil songs and discussing the phenomenal Rajni sir. My phone and computer were allowed to take a break as well. There was an aroma of coffee in the air as we drove uphill. Chikmagalur has the vibe of a hill station, even though it's not at a great height. It has a colonial air with old British structures and green roundabouts. And if you saw an Englishman riding past, you would be tempted to tip your hat. Then there was the Sarai. Calling it just a resort would be unfair. It honestly is something else. Luxury takes on another meaning here. What is great about the place is that it has understated elegance and the way they unobtrusively spoil you. It takes a couple of hours getting used to a private villa with a diving pool, jacuzzi, and an outdoor shower. Early morning walks in the coffee plantation is what I decided on. Well-trained staff showed me around and let me wander at will. The place is in the Cafe Coffee Day plantation and it just felt like home. Maybe I was a Colombian coffee planter in a previous birth. I saw coffee seeds at different stages, from green to red to brown. I also got to know how coffee and pepper grow together in these parts. Both need each other to flourish. Set me thinking, peace and chaos in right proportions? Hot stone massages, meditating in a forest clearing, and sampling the local cuisine in the finest china. I knew I'd made the right choice. What for me was a first and a great beginning was the fact that it did not miss my phone, TV, or social network. It was a revelation and an achievement. I was sleeping by 11 at night and up at 7. The best part is that the routine continues even now that I'm back to real life. If I can keep to this timing and my no smoking stance, my life will be perfect. Of course, the clincher for me has been the life-changing holiday. Did some amount of writing, a fair amount of reading, and lots of thinking, and rid my mind of toxic people and situations. The sheer joy of not having to second-guess what your partner is thinking is inexplicable. The more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that I had to go to Chikmagalur because I was a little girl in the little girl's town. Solo holidays are hugely recommended.
Remember the last vacation you took? What about the one you took 3 years ago? Okay, how much do you really remember? It's a question I've asked myself often over a decade of traveling the world. Hey, I'm Utsav and I do not travel the world for a living. I have a full-time job and responsibilities, but I have made traveling the world a priority. Priority enough that I negotiate extra leave in my job contracts, obsessively track my frequent flyer miles, and I'm willing to take off at the sight of a cheap ticket. Yes, I am cheap. I have lived and worked in 3 countries. I understand human behavior for a living. And these experiences have given me unique insights into places, people, and culture. With over a decade of travel behind me, I increasingly realized one thing, that we cannot see everything. So whatever we see, we must see deeply. Because as the film of memory decays, the imprints which will stand the test of time are the ones felt by the immersion of the senses, not by fleeting encounters with them. Postcards from Nowhere is an immersion into the world of slow travel, one story at a time. Tune in every Thursday on the IVM Podcasts app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Welcome to Paperback by the Open Library Project. I am your co-host Satyajit, otherwise known as Onion Knight in most food circles. I'm hosting this podcast with my co-founder at the Open Library Project, Rachita Sharma Roy.
Hi guys, I'm Rachita Sharma Roy. I'm an ex-banker, social impact entrepreneur, podcaster, writer, publisher, and inveterate learner. The Open Library Project is a curated library service which is offered to corporates on a subscription basis. The idea here is to create value, build a knowledge community, and encourage a growth mindset amongst our members.
We have as our guest today, Shifa Mehta. Shifa is the host of the Smile India podcast, in addition to being a veteran media professional who runs her own digital media production house. Welcome to the show, Shifa.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
It's great to have you on the show. And do tell us, where was this excerpt from and a little bit about what you did before you started the Smile India podcast.
Okay, this was from Chicken Soup for the Indian Single Soul, which was something I write for their title. So this was a couple of years ago when I was single. And so this is one of the pieces that I'd written, which is, a true account of what I had been through when I went on my first solo holiday.
Nice. And you mentioned that, earlier that you've also started a digital production house, right?
That's right. It's called Brands and Stories.
Brands and Stories. Nice. And this is with your partner.
My husband, Harshad Sharma, he's from advertising, and he's got whole lot of awards, and he's been with all these big agencies. My background is, I've been in television, I've been in radio, I've been in feature films and digital. And both of us love brands. He loves brands more than I. But yeah, we both love telling stories, and brands are important. So that's why Brands and Stories.
Great.
Awesome. And that was a beautiful article. I think was transported to Chikmagalur there for a while.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, Shifa, tell us a little bit about the Smile India podcast.
Okay. The Smile India podcast has been on for a couple of months now. And it's a bilingual podcast. It's in English and Hindi thrice a week. And it's about, it's a place where you get positive news about India. So at a time, or not just at a time, but generally everyone seems to think that there's everything wrong with this country. But I believe that if you look around, there's a lot that's going absolutely right. So that's what I look for and I curate and I put together.
Sounds awesome. When does it air?
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Okay, great. So everyone who needs a little bit of a positive outlook, I think, should tune in to your podcast.
Yes.
And, I actually agree with what you're saying. And I love that you're doing this podcast because I think Indians themselves, when we have a very bad habit of, putting ourselves down.
And whether mainstream media, whether it's television, print, digital, everywhere you go, it just, everything just seems to be going wrong.
Yeah.
So, which is why, and that's actually, it was really getting to me at a point about 3 years ago. One day on a whim, I started a Facebook page called Good News Indians.
Okay.
And over there, every day I started curating and putting out articles, videos, photographs of everything that makes you feel good about being an Indian.
Yeah.
And, I thought that, I've just started it and I don't know if I can continue with it. But trust me, the minute I go looking for something, I find, it's difficult to just choose 4 things out of 10, 15 that pop up.
Right.
So, so that continues and that's what led to the podcast as well.
That's great. And we're so glad to have you on the show today because I think even in, with the authors, we see a very similar trend. There are a lot of amazing Indian authors who are not so well recognized. And it'll be great to discuss a few of them today on the show.
Oh, I'd love to. I mean, I love to read, but it's really strange because I've always, while I, read all the classics and the popular authors and all of it, but I just tend to pick up an Indian author instinctively. So I think for every, third book that I'm reading is by an Indian author. So I'd love to talk about that.
Awesome. So let's start with your favorite Indian author and, why you are deeply influenced by him or her.
There isn't like one favorite Indian author because like my podcast also I read in Hindi and English both as well. So, But there's Chitra Banerjee Divakurni whose work I really, really like. And I recently read her latest book, which is Forest of Enchantment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was gorgeous. Really, really beautiful. And
what does the book talk about?
It talks about Sita's life, and it's the story from Sita's point of view.
Oh, nice.
So it's really lovely to know her from her childhood to, and it's very real. It isn't about, in that sense, it's, the story is set in those times, the story that we know as mythology and stuff, but this really seems like a woman telling her own story and the kind of how she fell in love with Ram and how, things panned out and and she had a sister, her younger sister was with her who was married to Lakshman. And, it was like the entire turmoil of deciding to go with her husband into the forest and knowing that her sister was going to be left back alone because Lakshman wasn't, he wasn't supposed to be, this is part of the story. I'm not talking about the actual reality or whatever. And so she went through this entire thing and then how she lived in the forest and she started, making peace with her life there and how, it was like a wonderful romance between her and Ram.
Right.
And, growing their own food and eating it and all of that. And then the entire bit where she gets, the Lakshman Rekha and she steps out of it. And it's really beautifully written.
So it's totally different perspective from Sita's point of view.
Totally. And the fact that she was absolutely hurt when she was asked to, go through the Agni Pariksha and stuff. And,
right.
She, it kind of ends differently from what we've heard. But
So, and I was wondering that, why do people not prefer reading too much of, books by Indian authors? Is it like the way they write? Is it the narrative? Or do you think it doesn't globally touch or represent too much for people? So, it's...
Which is why I like Chitra's work because her stories are literally universal. That even if you've never, heard of Sita or Draupadi for that matter, which is whose story is told in Palace of Illusions.
Right.
They're still just very beautifully written books and you'd be totally involved. Then there's Mistress of Spices again by her. So, and I really wonder why people don't. I agree that probably, at some point they weren't. Actually, no, there have always been good Indian authors. It's just that I think there's this whole snob appeal about reading. If you're reading in English, you need to be reading, by people who live abroad or who are not Indian, I guess.
Yeah.
But there are a whole lot of very good Indian authors who I think deserve to be read. And I don't know, I just feel it kind of seems more real and more identifiable because this is the land we live in,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Especially, books related to mythology and books about the Indian business and how, you can run businesses in India. When it's from an Indian perspective, I feel it adds a lot more value because it's directly related to our markets. So I've read amazing marketing books on, Amazon and on like global companies. And you're like, I don't know if I can really, implement the stuff that's being said in those books because it's on a very global perspective. So I really think for like business books, especially, or mythology or, history for that matter, if you're reading from an Indian perspective, it adds a totally different value.
Yeah, and also I think that, even fiction, like, there's this book called The Music Room by Namita Devi Dayal. That's really interesting because it takes you into another world in the sense that, we all know of, classical musicians and all of it, but what really happens in their lives or how does it, what are the relationships and the rivalries and, the Guru Shishya thing. It's just so amazing to read about it by someone who's, lived that life. It's very possible to go into so many different worlds with Indian authors.
Yeah. And you also mentioned, A Dream with Your Eyes Open by...
Oh, yeah. I love biographies. And Ronnie is my ex-boss. So it was very important that I read that.
So tell us some of the biographies that, you really like and which really stand out for you.
Let's start with Ronnie's biography because, I've read it and I found it really powerful. I related
and very
real.
Yeah.
And also because, I've worked with Ronnie at different stages of my career. So, I could identify with, a whole lot of things. And what I find really interesting is that it's available in audio format at the IBM platform. Yeah. So that's great.
In fact, I listened to the audio version of the book, which I had not experienced that before. I found it amazing because I just felt like it was Ronnie speaking to me and, telling me his story. And then at the end of the whole experience, I felt like I had this whole masterclass of, how to scale up a business in India, which was so full of accurate references. And me, especially being from Bombay, I really got a lot of the things. And being a business person from Bombay, understood the value of having a basement office and, things have worked out in similar ways for me. So I just really connected with the book and I found his voice very clear and, give you a good path forward.
Oh yeah, he's an excellent orator and I think he has beautiful diction.
Yeah, and it's also his, background from theatre. I think that helps, he used to be a theatre actor. So he's...
Right.
Yeah. No, actually, like you were saying about business books, I find biographies also very relatable and very interesting because the kind of tips that you pick up or the kind of, things to watch out for, you don't really get them when you're reading, about international greats. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Right.
So before we continue, we're just going to take a short break. And on the other side of the break, we'll be discussing a few more Indian authors and a few more biographies.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money and Intel. We appreciate their support. It's been a fantastic week on the IVM network. I hope that you've been checking stuff out, but some of the highlights that you definitely should check out. Ashish Vidyarthi, host of Begin the Journey, was on Cyrus Says. They had a really fun conversation. I think you'll enjoy that. Uncle Please Sid did an episode around development, which was really, really fun. On Edges and Sledges, we had Adam Holyoke, former England captain. While those guys are killing it, one cricketer after the other. Definitely do check out Advertising is Dead. We talk about esports with some really guys who really know that space. Smile India, absolutely right. These guys are killing it as well. So is Pawan at Pragati. Don't forget The Original Things. Again, one of my favorite shows. You must check that out. It's just been a really fun week, folks. So I hope that you enjoy it. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Welcome back, guys. We still have Shifa with us. Hey, Shifa. Very interesting first half. And we are very keen to discuss a few more Indian authors, starting with a few biographies. You mentioned Ronnie Screwvala's biography. Any others that stand out particularly for you?
Yeah, there's one called Beyond the Last Blue Mountain, which is J.R.D. Tata's biography. Mm-hmm. Again, really, really interesting. Okay. And, it just takes you into the mind of the man where he wasn't, he never really spoke. I think he belonged to a more genteel time. Mm-hmm. But the book is just really, really lovely. So I definitely recommend that.
And this would be I think applicable to anybody who, anybody would benefit from reading this.
Yeah, totally. And it's not about, it's not about business or it's not history. And also the interesting thing is that it's not written in a dry manner, which is why for me a biography works when, it can bring the person's life alive, literally, in the pages. And I think that, that's why I like some of them.
Fantastic. And any other biographies that?
There are many. Okay, I'll just
I think you could just name 4-5 biographies and why you would recommend them, and then we could move forward.
Yeah, then there's okay. So I'll tell you, there's Piyush Pandey's one called Pandemonium. That's again very interestingly written, and it's it is about his life, but it just gives you an idea of the entire advertising business. So, that was really good fun.
Nice.
Then there's something I just recently read called From Bihar to Tihar, which is...
this one I was really interested in.
Yeah, Kanhaiya Kumar's story. It is amazing. And, it's literally about... And you have no idea that how small towns in Bihar, just getting to school... or some kid who is able to, his parents can afford to send him to school or he can study and get into an English medium school, just makes him a local hero. Mm-hmm. And, and from there, this whole dream of getting to JNU and how the way he describes JNU and the fact, it just seems like the, best place to be. And, how a university can open your mind up so much, and it's lovely. The entire thing just, it's almost like you're on and it's fast paced. So I think I read it in one night.
Yeah. So it's much like his personality, basically. Candid.
Yeah.
On point.
Yeah, very candid and very, it kind of sucks you in. So you can't, stop reading it and say, okay, I'll read 10 pages today and all. It's not that kind of book. Yeah.
Whenever Kanhaiya speaks anywhere, I feel like does a much better job than any of his competitors or competitors.
Yeah, totally. And the way he writes this one is also like that.
Yeah, so a great read. I think one of the guys we're going to be seeing a lot of in the future. And,
I hope so.
To give us, his perspective is very unique.
Yeah, it
is. Like it's the first time I started listening to him also was because he's speaking about things that I probably have never considered.
That's what actually, and this book is totally like that, Mm-hmm. And I had a totally different perception of him before I read the book, and after I read it, I'm like, no, the guy's really making sense.
Great recommendation, I think, for all our listeners to pick up to get a different perspective on things. And talking about perspective, let's talk about a few fiction authors. And Indian fiction, we've had more authors coming out of India in our history than anywhere in the rest of the world.
So one author who had, I haven't read all his books, but there's one book by Wahid Mirza called The Book of Gold Leaves. It's so beautiful. Okay. Yeah, I'd recommend it to everyone. It's just the style of writing and the way he, makes Kashmir come to life. Mm-hmm. It is gorgeous. It's really something that I recommend to everyone.
And what is the story about? What?
I think it's a true account. That's what it says. Okay. But it's about a young girl and boy who are in love with each other, and conservative Kashmiri families, and the boy takes a call to become a militant.
Okay.
And what happens after that? Very, very well written.
Very interesting premise.
Yeah.
I think India itself is, so different in different parts.
Yeah, and there's just so much, to learn in different parts of India. Like even, I just finished reading Tales from Firozshah Bagh by Rohinton Mistry,
Right.
which is, again, it's I think about 10 short stories, but they're all set in the same building complex called Firozshah Bagh. And it's just so wonderful the way, and characters from different houses or hence different stories come into each other's stories. So it's very relatable, very readable, but at some level it just teaches you so much about human behavior and, how things change with loss and with death and with marriage. So it's just very, very interestingly done.
Oh, that's a beautiful collection you gave us right there. And so before we wind up, I just wanted to, ask you to probably suggest our listeners as to, why they should be picking up Indian authors, because we really feel like, there's a lack of awareness about these authors, and, they don't get the recognition they deserve. And it's also like a beautiful perspective to your own country. So, please tell us and encourage our listeners to pick up a book by an Indian author.
Totally. And also, like I said, there's a lot of fiction out there, which is really interesting. But there's also a lot of non-fiction, which, helps you see things in what you tend to get on Twitter and what you get on social media or even in the newspapers is just skimming the surface. Whereas an author actually goes into details and tells you the real story. So there's, India's Most Fearless by Shiv Aru, the journalist. And there are, I think, 2 parts to it, where they're real life heroes who've been, who are, some of them are living, some of them have been martyred across, the Army, Air Force, Navy. And he tells you their real stories, that, what they are like as people, what they're like growing up, what actually, was going through their mind during the incident. It is amazing. And, how the special forces were.
Right.
And so things like that, you won't know about it, by reading newspapers or just, the things you forget. But here, even if you don't remember the name of the person, you remember that incident, or you remember, it stays with you, which I think is the hallmark of a great book. You don't forget about it the minute it ends.
Absolutely. I think it touches closest to the heart. And yeah. Also, are there any, Indian book clubs that you're a part of, or you would like to recommend to our listeners?
No, I'm not part of any book club. And in fact, I'm a little possessive about my books. I have lots and lots of books. And, every time someone comes home and says, oh, can I take this? And I first, I'm sorry to sound shallow, but I judge the person by the book they picked. And then I go into, past record and say, okay, did you return this book of mine? Did you return that one? And if you haven't, then you're not getting another one.
But you shouldn't feel so bad, because this is a trait of most book lovers.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
the value of knowledge.
So their collection. So I think it's one common point that all people who read have been possessive of. And especially maintaining record of people who return their books back on time.
No, and also if I really like a book, I end up going to the bookshop the next day and buying 5 copies and gifting it to people who I think would like it.
Oh, lovely.
So I do that all the time, and I love gifting books to people. So much so that my 14 and 16-year-old nephew and niece are like, oh God, don't give us another book for our birthday.
Satyajit is also a lot like that. I think he has copies of books to recommend to people all the time.
I've just been I've gifted Brave New World by Aldous Huxley to at least 50 people in my life.
Yeah, I've gifted Fountainhead and Godfather to a whole lot of people.
Oh, lovely.
It's like a rite of passage. Oh, you've turned 18, now read.
Here you go.
I also think Hindi authors, guys.
Yeah.
Please read Hindi authors as well. You can read some of them in translation, but there are some good translations of Manto available of Gulzar Saab right now. But if you can read in Hindi, there's Mohan Rakesh, Kishan Chandra, Amrita Pritam. Please read.
So, just one last question before we let you go. Since you do read and your podcast is also in both languages.
Yeah.
Do you find any difference when you're reading the Hindi original text as compared?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Just so real. It's so much more real in Hindi. I mean, I do read translations of languages I don't know, I can't read in like Tamil or Bengali and stuff. Mm-hmm. But if whatever I can read in Hindi, I do read. And I also read a lot of Urdu poetry translated in Hindi.
Okay.
Not translated, just written in Devanagari. So it's just doesn't. I just feel the translation doesn't do justice.
I think Urdu and Sanskrit are such powerful languages that the impact that they leave behind originally cannot be like got in a translation. But if you cannot read it, definitely you should pick up a translation and enjoy.
Yeah, and it's actually especially with your mother tongue or languages close to that, it kind of it's a beautiful flavor or a beautiful world that it transports you.
So thank you for all those recommendations, Shifa.
Thank you. I totally enjoyed this.
It was great chatting with you. And to all our listeners, please check out Shifa's podcast. It airs on the IVM network on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. And thank you so much, Shifa, for being a guest on our show. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Big thank you to all our listeners. You can follow the Open Library Project on LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook for latest updates on our events, and stay tuned for the next paperback podcast on IVM Podcasts. Happy reading. You can follow IVM Podcast on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at IVM Podcasts. Listen to Paperback on the IVM Podcast app, website or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Did I just catch you on your way to work? Or did you end up pulling an all-nighter? Let me guess. You have a packed schedule for the day, the week, and probably the month and the year. That's a lot for your mind to handle, don't you think? This buzzing chaos also brings tons of negative thoughts. Am I right? Try spinning that bottle in a positive direction with me, Chetna, on the Positively Unlimited podcast, every Monday on IBM Podcasts. It's time to change your life one alphabet at a time.
Are you constantly seeking happiness? Wondering how to make the most of every day? How not to let your inhibitions stop you from achieving your goals? It's now time to get your A-game on. It's time to unlock your true potential. Tune in to the Empowering series with me, Zarina Poonawalla, to feel empowered in all genres of life. From behavioral skills to management skills, from health to relationships, from mental well-being to emotional well-being, and of course your finances. I've got you covered. With these tips and tricks from me, Zarina, and true life stories from my amazing guests, you're bound to bring your purest to the table. Tune in to the Empowering series with Zarina Poonawalla every Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.